This is a quick tutorial to simply show the nil absence not captured cross-reference query. In other words, it basically takes all the days that you had records posted and it cross-references it with the days where there were absentees done and where there should be therefore nil absence. I'll show you exactly what I mean. So if you go to check entries and you click this nil absent not captured radial button, ignore this parameter value, it's got nothing to do with a missing field. I'll get to the bottom of it later, but it's actually it doesn't affect the system at the moment. So quite simply, let's click A to Z on class and then A to Z on the date. Okay, so you can see here, for instance, here's all the records posted for the 10th, and you can see, and this count of date column here is the number of absentees for that class, for that gender on that day. Okay, so clearly for the 10th, for example, the school had posted, but they didn't capture absentees for that day. Okay, so that's why it's not counting. So in theory, you should expect to see all these no abs blocks ticked. Now, you can't actually tick them here in this record set because this record set is an aggregate query. In other words, I've used groupings and count. Let me show you now. Just briefly, I've used groupings and count functions within the origin queries as well. So this isn't a table, for example, that's a query itself, as well as double cross-reference in order to single out these records, cross-reference the records. So yeah. So let's go back to the form. So if we open it again, so the simple thing, again, let's just organize the dates quickly. So what you want to do essentially is filter on the nulls, because there for instance is a day where there were two female absentees in the class of 4F on the 12th, and there was a posting done on the 12th. Okay, so if you filter on the blanks, so in other words, if there was kids absent in that class, you wouldn't expect to see ticks over here. So what you want to do is get the blanks and say, okay, well, these were dates where there were no absentees in a particular class. Now you would expect to see all these blocks ticked. Okay, so if you scroll further, so the school obviously didn't start using the nil absent function until much later in the year. Okay, here you can see that they started using the function in about May. So if I click right click on that no abs box, any no abs box, and I choose is 0. Okay, now I've filtered on the days where there were no absentees captured on those dates where posting was done, which should be every day of school, and yet there was also no one telling the system that there was nil absent. So what you would need to do is to copy and paste that to Excel or move it to a separate screen if you're multi-screening, and then go to your table called date grade count. Okay, and here you will be able to, so again you're almost cross-referencing again in the sense in that you are going to be saying, right, on the 10th we need to be ticking no abs for all these classes that are listed. Now alternatively, because this is a fair amount of backtracking to do, and for those of you who shelved at the end of last term and haven't been following this procedure accurately, you don't want to be doing this procedure on your shelf data and then on your current data too. So it's going to be easier for you when you go into SAMS to do the black and blue thing, as we're calling it. So basically go to the absent grids, click on that week where a class has had no absentees for the week. Sam's doesn't know whether they've had no absentees or whether just absentees haven't been captured. So the register class is black, and it asks you to click save. The save button actually highlights itself to yellow. You click save and you'll see the register class will change to blue. And you have to go through each week for each term for each register class. Okay, so you will know which section it is, section 3.3.3 in SAMS. You click in there, you choose a term, you choose the first week of the term, and you look for all the black register classes going down. Those that are black, you click on them, you click save, and SAMS will then recognize that as being captured as no absentees for the week. As I say, once you start using this properly in FrontOFFICE, and folks, it obviously has been in place for a long time now already, for years, so one should have been, then you will not have to do that in SAMS. It'll export properly across to SAMS. We've written that into the API now. Certainly for your third submission, we could have all this in order by then. That concludes this tutorial.